Hello everyone and welcome to the Gunpla Network. I'm the Spicer and today's review of the HGUC RGM-96X Just a Cannon is brought to you by Canadian Gundam. Canadian Gundam is your one-stop shop for all your Plamo and Gunpla needs here in North America. Kits, tools, and so much more. Canadian Gundam has your back. When checking out, don't forget to use the promo code Gunpla Network for 10% off. The RGM-96X Just a Cannon is exactly what I like to see from a family of grunt suits. A simple design doctrine of making a single frame as versatile as possible, while still making sure it's able to do the job it's assigned. While the Jesta never really saw full-scale mass production, its service as a special operations unit makes total sense. It's more powerful and advanced than the Jagan, but it's still not quite on par with most Gundams. These suits in coordination, though, could be some of the best any military of the time could offer. Not only is the Jesta series formidable in the field, but it's also slick looking. Not only does it apply in the lore, but also the HGUC representation of the suits. In terms of the Jesta Cannon, all the armor placement makes total sense and it still feels like a Jesta. Like these two could have rolled off the same assembly line back to back instead of something like the GM and GM Cannon or the Gun Cannon. There's just such difference between those suits, it made it harder to feel like they were one really easily interchangeable unit, whereas the Jesta to the Jesta Cannon feels pretty simple. While you do get extra parts in the box for the Jesta having one side of its shoulders, arms, and most of a leg, you don't feel like you're getting just drowned in extra parts. This isn't the Shining Break Gundam here. You do have a few extras, but they're really more just icing on the cake versus something you're kind of dreading having to cut out. They really aren't a lot of extra work. I mean, there's maybe a handful of 15 or 20 pieces you get extra, and a lot of them you can use, which is great, like the Jesta shield or the rifle. Any of that stuff is cool, and you can use it on other suits if you want to for customization. And, this is something that I've personally thought about, but having a cool diorama of like the inside of the Rock Hyloom's hangar bays and having a Jesta being converted, like half converted to Jesta Cannon while still being half Jesta, would be pretty cool in terms of like a diorama. Be careful though, I did break off one of the pegs in the calf armor when trying to change it back from the regular Jesta to the Jesta Cannon. Visually speaking, these dark navies contrast the different shades of gray splendidly. Also, it contrasts with the base Jesta as well, since the base Jesta doesn't really have a lot of contrast. It's all pretty much a dark blue with a slight light blue as an accent. Not only does this help the Jesta Cannon stand out more on a shelf, but it also makes sense for all the extra armor plates to be kind of a generic color instead of the more customized navy blue of the Jesta. And something this bulky is not really going to be able to hide, so you're not too worried about making it stealthy looking or anything of that nature. While it may not be for everyone, I love that the Jesta is still very clearly here. From a design standpoint, I just love the Jesta, and adding armor to it still makes it feel different enough without making it just an entirely different suit. You don't feel like you've been robbed of the Jesta Cannon. It's all there and you can see it, which also makes these suits very complementary when they're on a shelf next to each other. I do have to say, I really do appreciate Bandai for really making two different shades of gray for this kit. Very easily, a lot of this could have either been just left as the regular gray plastic or as stickers for some of the things like the extra armor on the shoulders. And that wouldn't have been outside of what Bandai's done. Like, that would be pretty on par with what they do, but it is really nice to see that they took a little extra time and a little extra care to provide just a little bit of color separation that wasn't necessary but is much appreciated. In terms of articulations, it's just as you'd expect from a slightly older HGUC. It's serviceable, but it's nothing crazy. With a bulky suit like this, it's more important to really consider the usable articulation and center of gravity as opposed to how many degrees you can bend the knee. It is fairly well balanced, a little work adjusting the feet and the legs and you're pretty much done. It's not really forward or back heavy, it's mostly top heavy, but all of it's kind of in a central line, so you don't have to worry too much about it wobbling side to side or even really front to back. I will say the placement of the beam cannon and multi-launcher, well, they do kind of complement the center of gravity, do limit what you can do in terms of posability. You really only have like 1 or 2 poses you can really use those and it really seem like they're being used, but those poses don't look bad and they all kind of make sense, so it would have been nice to see more, but totally understandable for the design and placement. However, outside of those 2 weapons, everything else is pretty much just as posable as the original Jesta, allowing you to pull off some really cool dynamic action poses with the beam rifles, yes, beam rifles, and the beam saber. I love the fact that we get the original Jesta rifle here. It is one of my favorite beam rifles of all time, and it doesn't look weird with the Jesta cannon holding it. Yes, it's much bulkier, and the Jesta cannon version of the beam rifle is much bigger, but this still feels like it would make sense for the Jesta cannon. It doesn't feel puny, it doesn't feel small. Yes, it's smaller than the counterpart, but if you didn't really think about that, in terms of just its complementation to the suit, it makes total sense. And I do have to say, well, the arm shield is not really as cool as like the shoulder-mounted or backpack-mounted shield, and it looks kind of a little goofy in some poses. It does a really nice job of providing a nice flat surface for some of the smaller sticker decals, and it doesn't cover the kit. That is one thing I hate so much about some shields, is it's hard to get them in a good pose where you can see and appreciate the shield without covering so much of the mobile suit, and this does a really good job of being able to look like it's protecting the suit while not just overshadowing the suit entirely. Overall, in terms of posability, while it's not a knockout of the park or anything like that, it is exactly what it needs to be for this type of mobile suit. Overall, while I do still prefer the original Jesta in terms of design more, this kit existing, just simply existing, does make me want to get a full TriStars team myself. One thing I really love about Gundam technology, especially in stuff like the UC and Age, is we get to see the advancement of this technology, and this is exactly what the Jesta cannon really provides in terms of just being a model kit, existing as a mobile suit in the lore. It makes so much sense. Well, it's, not the mid-fight transformations of Age or anything crazy like that. Having something like the cannon is grounded and practical, and it really goes back to reminding me of the Oatham team, of having to make adjustments and repairs in the field, or being able to switch different equipment out really quickly to aid the combat situation you're in, instead of kind of being at a disadvantage. While ultra-powerful suits are still fun to build and pose, unique grunts like the Jesta cannon help tell a story of technological progression in plastic on your shelf. Having the Jesta series next to a Jagan and then next to the GM series, as many as there are, on your shelf serves as a reminder of how detailed the world of Gundam can really be. Gundam in and of itself is not only interesting to watch, but when you have those ties and you have them in plastic, it just really makes it all that much more special. For the Gunpla Network, I'm the Spicer signing off, reminding everyone to stay safe, stay warm, and keep on building.